So in the wake of the Super Bowl, a lot of the conversation is centered around the Eagles' passing game and the big day it had, and rightfully so. But I wanted to break down exactly how the Eagles' run game won them the Super Bowl before the game even started. So the Chiefs weren't going to screw around, right? I had thought maybe they would try to fit the run from light boxes and deny the explosive plays on the outside, see what they could do just to slow the run down, but take away the pass game completely. They weren't doing anything like that, right? They were all in on stopping the run and getting bodies in the box. So it's a simple math problem, right? Stopping the run is all about math. Here the Eagles are in 3 wide, 11 personnel, which means there's going to be 7 gaps on the line of scrimmage. And if you look at the Chiefs, they got 7 dudes in the box. Yeah, they come out in 2 deep here, as you see, but they bump the nickel into the box. So they got 7 for 7 at the point of attack. No depth fits, no this guy's out of the box and they're going to try to spill to him. No, they need as many bodies at the line of scrimmage as there are gaps, right? And we'll kind of see why. So what the Eagles are running here, obviously, it's obvious why, right? Saquon Barkley commands as many guys congesting space as possible. The Eagles' offensive line is dominant, so if you're relying on your guys up front to win and hold space and congest, it's probably not going to happen. So you need bodies. But this is a good example of how the Eagles steal extra numbers. And the ability to steal extra numbers forces the defense to commit extra numbers, right? So they're running counter read, bash. Now, bash means back away, right? Running backs out here, the pullers are going here, and if Hurts were to keep, he would follow the pullers, back away from the pullers, counter bash. So what happens here is that the Eagles motion to 2x2, right? Eligible, with a slot, which means that, as we'll see later, the Chiefs have to bump the nickel out, bring the safety down. So they end up in single high. Regardless, 7 guys, 7 gaps. So they're going to end up leaving this backside end unblocked. And if he collapses, you give the ball. And if he stays out wide, you keep behind the pullers. So the defense is going to need a guy to take on both pullers and a guy to get over the top to play the ball carrier. Now, the D end stays pretty wide, so he probably should have kept this, but regardless, they have that guy playing the running back. They have this guy taking the first puller, this guy taking the second puller. This guy's supposed to overlap. Now, he doesn't get over the top of the tackle, which is a problem, because if he had kept this, there would have been a crease here. But regardless, they had the numbers generally that they need. And they can make the play. So, going to the next play, we can start to see how the Chiefs' rules worked, right? So when, as I said earlier, when they were in these 2x2 slot formations, slot here, the Chiefs were going to match with single high, right? Because they need somebody to cover down over the slot, which means that if you wanted to involve the nickel in the box like they did on the previous play, you'd have to bump him here, which means, again, to cover somebody over the slot, you need to bring the safety down. You'd need to come and bring this guy to deep middle, and you'd end up in the same situation, right? So they end up with the safety in the box, the nickel out, and they have 7 for 7 gaps, right? So what happens is they motion to 3-by-1. Because this guy's crossing the formation, it becomes 3-by-1. So this guy ends up going deep. The nickel ends up in the fit. So the Chiefs, the Eagles are able to, because they are forced and bound to have 7 in the box when there are 7 gaps, 8 guys in the box when there are 8 gaps, 6 guys in the box when there are 6 gaps, depending on how many guys are attached to the formation for the offense. Because they are rigidly bound to this, the Eagles can dictate coverages. It limits you so much in coverage when you have to tie that many defenders to the point of attack. There are only so many things you can do in coverage, and it's really, really easy at that point for the offense to figure it out. So, as you see here, even though they show too high pre-snap, the offense knows at this point that they're going to need 7 guys in the box. So they know that this guy's going to come down hard. This guy's going to go to post, and they're going to be in single high because they need this safety to fit the open B gap, which he does, and he does a nice job. But, again, this disguise is fake, right? The Emperor has no clothes. They know exactly that they need 7 guys in the box at right before or certainly at the snap because there are 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. So as we continue to the next play, you can see what this does for the offense, right? So they get a pressure indicator here. They tip their hand pre-snap. This guy creeps in before the snap. So Hurts cans the play. He knows that they're going to end up in single high because of the pressure. Because, they need to, even with 4 open here, you got to be a little bit worried about the run, so you can't do anything crazy in coverage. He knows he's going to have that one-on-one outside, check into a double move, go ball. So for Hurts, all he's doing here mentally after the snap is pretty much nothing, right? When it's fast, when these bullets are flying, you don't have to sort through anything. You just catch that ball, you know your matchup, you know what it's going to be pre-snap, and you throw. Right in the bucket. Now, Hurts is a great go ball thrower. He's arguably the best in the league, right up there with guys like Joe Burrow. Russell Wilson is really good as well, as the guys who sort of specialize in this stuff. But, yeah, he's just able to pick it, pre-snap, and throw. So now we see the big post touchdown at the end, right? They're sort of in game-killing mode at this point. The Chiefs think they're going to run. They're in 12 personnel, but as we see, safety's going to come down. Well, actually, he's not. He's going to go to deep half because the nickel is in the box here. 7 for 8 in this case, but so because he has to come down, but also play deep and play over this guy, he's got to match this guy because these guys are going to come down hard against the run action. So he's got to take this guy, which leaves him one-on-one outside with this guy who can't cover him, especially since they would like to be playing a bracket, but with the run action, as we can see here, that's just not going to fly, right? You see these guys get sucked up really hard. They need to be at the point of attack immediately. He's got to come down in secondary support. And he's also got to cover the tight end. Huge void behind him. If you look at Hurts, again, what's he doing pre-snap? He's just seeing that safety. He's reading that safety. He's not locking into the outside, but he's got a pretty good idea that safety is not going to be able to rock back on that post pre-snap, so he can just catch it and throw. Nothing to sort through here. And it's another dime. It's another dime. Again, Jalen Hurts is if you give him those looks, he can key in on that pre-snap, he will drop bombs on you. He's a great vertical thrower. And that's really the big thing about how the Eagles offense works, because if this conflict didn't exist, teams could just stack the box with no issue. But he can throw it over the top on you because, again, he's a great thrower. And here we go again, right? However, this is an obvious man situation. This is that 4th and 2 at the beginning, right? So they need to play tight to routes because if they give up anything easy underneath, it's an easy conversion on 4th down. So the Eagles, because you're not going to get these chances, or at least they didn't think they would. You're not going to get these chances super often. You take your shot. 1-on-1. Automatic. Again, great go ball thrower. A.J. Brown dominates at the point of attack. Should absolutely not have been called offensive pass interference. But regardless, right in the bucket. Terrible call. And so now we get to a 3rd down. And this is where Spagnuolo needed to make it harder, right? You get a 3rd down here, 3rd and pass, and you're in man coverage. You show it across the board, right? It's pretty clearly man coverage. He is just going to pick this matchup, catch that ball. We're going to move this so you can see the ball a little bit more. He's going to pick that matchup, catch that ball, get the top of his drop, and just throw it. Again, beautifully to the back shoulder. Great go ball thrower. But just, there's no read here really post-snap that he has to make. Just pick it, throw. You did not need to make it this easy. On the few times one of the few times you get into an obvious pass, you need to make it harder. You need to make it harder because you're loading the box on standard downs, and they're killing you over and over on these go balls regardless. The one situation where you don't have to honor the run, you should probably empty the box and take those away. And there were times when they got into those situations and they did. And the things Jalen Hurts struggles with, which is having to sort things out post-snap when the bullets are flying and it's fast, they were still there. These issues were still there. So they show man coverage pre-snap here, right? He looks like he's down over the slot. He looks like he's down over the tight end. He's in here. He looks like he's in the post, right? It looks like man coverage. So on this concept, you have deep corner and this little smoke underneath, right? Now the man answer on this, if you're going to get single high man coverage, in theory, the corner is going to run this guy off, and you've got a window for the smoke. So you're going to throw that against man coverage. But they fool him. They're going to rock back to cover 2, and he just doesn't pick it up. So he's there ready to throw the smoke, but you have the hook defender right there. And instead of seeing that and then just throwing the corner behind it, he's just not going to do that. He's just not going to do it. So he's going to get to the top of his drop, see that it's not there, and then he's going to panic. Now he makes a play out of structure, but that's not always going to be there. He misses the read here. And as you can see, like, when he gets to the top of his drop here, he sees that hook defender in the window. You need to just readjust and hit Devontae Smith, who is wide-ass open on this corner, as the play is designed. It's a misread. Because his pre-snap indicator, his pre-snap judgment wasn't there. So you have to process and adjust when the bullets are flying, when it's fast. Struggles to do it. So we get to here. It happens again. So the idea here, this is a man beater because he's supposed to pin down and then he's supposed to separate against man coverage behind it, right? And you're supposed to be putting this corner in conflict. So they're not in that. They're in too deep. And so what you got to do is you just got to get through the progression here. You just got to work backside here to this over, because the progression is 1, 2, 3, and then backside. And that number 3, that pops open. But when he doesn't get the look he expects, the single high look, or at least wants for the concept, he stays on that front side and he tries to extend and then just dumps it off when he leaves that open over in the middle of the field there. So we'll get to the end zone and kind of see what he does. Gets the top of his drop. It's not there. Instead of progressing backside, he's just patting his feet. He's bouncing around. He's not comfortable, and he just leaves. And he leaves meat on the bone. But for the most part, because of how they ran the ball, if we go all the way back, they were just able to do this over and over and over because they committed resources to the run, and he was able to just pick his matchups and let it rip. And again, really talented thrower. He was on the money as a thrower, but they were able to keep him insulated from having to do too much post-snap processing because of how much the Chiefs broke themselves trying to defend the run here. And again, he made him pay with his arm. He made some plays with his legs. Definitely deserves the praise he's gotten. Hurts is he's the ultimate competitor, dating back to his days at Bama. Ultimate respect. But the Eagles' situation around him was able to keep his weaknesses covered up, which is, the sign of a good team, right? You're able to cover up your team's weaknesses and maximize your strengths and force teams to not expose your weaknesses because your strengths are so overpowering that they have to commit everything to stop it at any cost, including in the Chiefs' case, the ability to stop anything outside and over the top.